Batman White Knight, issue number 2. So number 2 of 8. You know what? I've actually been enjoying this series so far, which is kind of funny. I don't really do much videos on this. There are other people that like focus most of their channel on it, but I really don't on the whole politics and comic books. Just because, I mean, I've mentioned it so many times already. I feel like I'm like a broken record, but I don't want my channel just to be that. I want my channel to be more of like the positive, good stuff about comics. And if I happen to read a bad comic, then I'll point it out, because I'm not gonna censor myself in that way. But every comic that I pick up because of the fact that I think I'm gonna enjoy it. I'm not one of those where I pick up a comic that I know is terrible just so I can roast it or rant at it. Except I will have to say that Shadow Batman will probably be the only one that I pick up. But that's, even then, I'm picking it up hoping that it's gonna get better, even though it's actually been getting worse. But it's only 2 issues in, so hopefully the third one will turn things around. But yeah, I try to stay out of the whole political talk just because I don't want my channel to be like that. There are plenty of other channels for anyone interested in that kind of stuff. I want this to be more positive. So even though I haven't talked about it, I do not like politics in my comics. It works sometimes, but I'm just one of those where, you know what? Comics are escapism to me. I read comic books for the same reason that people watch sports, even though it's been really hard to do that. Like I can't watch a football game without them talking about the whole kneeling down for the anthem. And it's just, I hate that. I hate the fact that there's nowhere I can go to escape from politics. And it's like, you know what? I don't want that stuff. I want escapism. That's why I'm reading comics in the first place. Now it's almost to the point where I gotta just do nothing but manga. I'm kind of starting to ramble, but that's just my thing. I don't like politics at all in my comics. When it comes to comics, when it comes to video games, when it comes to movies, when it comes to TV shows, when it comes to sports, I want that stuff out, because those are escapism for me. So why I'm going on this whole rant thing is just basically the bottom line. I hate politics in my fiction, but I don't mind the politics in this series so far. So far, it's been done pretty well. But we start off with Joker. Well, not Joker, actually. It's Jack Napier. I'm hoping I'm pronouncing that last name right. And he's making his speech in a courtroom, and it's being televised all across Gotham. And just basically talking about how the GCPD and Batman used him. Basically how they're the ones who created all these crazy criminals. How he started off as just a guy who wanted to, he fell in love with Gotham and he just wanted to do well, but when things didn't turn out, he screwed up and robbed a bank. He served his time, but they didn't want to release him. And it was because of them. He wasn't just a criminal, he was like an excuse. He was an excuse for the GCPD to basically crack down on crime the way that they have. Like, because of criminals like him and other criminals, they were able to, well, first off, they were able to make a lot of money. They were making a lot of money on crime, money from the taxpayers. Basically, they were able, like, one example used was that they turned Old Fort Arkham into Arkham Asylum, something that they would not have been able to do if they weren't raking in all this money on all these, like, crazy criminals. And kind of how, like, these criminals wouldn't be here if it wasn't for GCPD and Batman. Like, vigilantism has been normalized when it should be illegal. How like the corruption has spread all the way up to the top. It's actually a pretty decent speech. You actually kind of feel sympathetic towards him, even though like a part of you knows that he's full of it. Then we cut to the male and female reporter that we saw in the first issue, and the male reporter is basically how, like, he's guilty of at least half the things that the GCPD says that he is. And the female is, even though she's skeptical, but she's willing to give him a chance, kind of. Here's one thing I found just hilarious. So we have the male speech, and and his devastating critique of Gotham seems to have struck a chord with social justice warriors. They seem to see Napier as some kind of hero. And then here we see a panel, and I'm assuming these are supposed to be like social justice warriors, and they're walking over to like the riot police with like a peace offering. And I couldn't help but laugh because I was like, that is so BS. That is not like if this is supposed to be like the real world, that is not what was going on. These social justice warriors, Antifa, they're domestic terrorists. I mean, they're literally going to rallies just so they can beat up the opposition. Like they show up dressed all in black with black masks, carrying weapons. They've been caught using bike locks and bashing people over the head. They've been caught with knives, switchblades. They've been caught with ice picks. They've been caught with box cutters. They've been caught with bricks, rocks, bottles. They've been caught with chains. They've been caught with boards and baseball bats with nails in them. These are not peaceful people. I mean, there's a whole meme where they show an image of ISIS and an image of Antifa, and they put them together, and you're supposed to be able to, guess which one is which, and you can't because they look exactly the same. So, this panel was just hilarious with how out of touch it was, which is kind of funny because Sean Gordon Murphy, is that his name? He did his research when it came to this issue, like in terms of like law and all that stuff, and it shows. But for this, it's just like, dude, you got this so backwards. These are people who are constantly bashing police. These are people who are siding with the group that's saying pigs in the blanket frying like bacon. What do we want? Dead cops. When do we want them now? That's what these people are chanting. These people aren't going to be going up to cops with peace offerings. These people are going to be showing up dressed all in black with weapons, and they're going to be attacking anyone that they see as an opposition to them. Sorry for that long rant, but I mean, everything else about this issue I like, but that's just that one little panel. I'm just like, no. You got this so backwards. But we cut to Joker, and he arrives at this joke shop where we see Harley, who's sexy as always. She tells Joker he looks like a freak without his makeup, and she tries to put the makeup on, but Jack kind of pushes her away, and he basically tells her that he wants to apologize to her for treating her the way that he has over the years, and that what he did, like their relationship wasn't healthy, but he wants to turn that all around, and he wants to give Harley the version of Joker, the version of Jack that she deserved, which is basically a normal guy who will treat her right. And then he gives her a ring. She starts laughing, and then she attacks him and beats him up. Basically tells him that knock it off with the pills. Stop calling me pudding. You're not, my pudding anymore because of the way She wants him to be Joker. And then she's like, I'm not your pudding. And then we see a female hand says, I was. And Harley gets kicked in the face. And then we see another Harley. And this Harley is classic Harley. Classic get up, which I will be honest, I miss. Don't get me wrong. I like Harley, like the way she is now, somewhat. I like the, it's kind of based off the Arkham game design, and I like that. But I don't really like what they did with Harley lately. I haven't read anything from Harley. I haven't read her standalone comics. I haven't read Suicide Squad. I haven't read, I think she's in Bombshells. She's like in another like all-girl series. I haven't read any of that just because I don't like the way that they've been portraying her. So it was nice to kind of see classic Harley, especially since this is like the Harley that obviously I was introduced to back when Batman animated series was on, which is actually her first appearance. I thought that was kind of funny. Like Harley, for as popular as she is, she first appeared in the cartoon series. But yeah, she picks up the ring, puts it on, and she tells Jack that, apology accepted. And she kind of trashes new Harley. Here's another thing I hated. Old Harley, classic Harley's like, I'm taking him back. And new Harley's like, he needs, and then old Harley says, a violent cheerleader with a bigger rack? I don't think so. And don't get me started on the clothes. Kind of a step back for feminism. I was like, really? Have you seen feminists? Have you seen them lately? Basically, new Harley fits more of the modern day feminists than classic Harley does. Classic Harley, I guess, could be like old school feminists. But old school feminists are way, 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 way different than feminists nowadays. Like, they're not even the same. But yeah, we get some stuff with Batman, but I'm going to kind of skip that just because I don't want to give a whole summary of everything that's going on. I'm just going to focus more on Jack. But Classic Harley takes Jack to her apartment and realizes that everything is normal. We kind of get to like why she left him in the first place, and it shows her like normal, and they're like, it looks like they're happy as they're doing like a therapy session, and she's like, you were easy to fall in love with. Like, you're the most exciting person I've ever felt. You didn't feel like a criminal. You just felt free. And like, even though you're doing kind of questionable things, I didn't care. But it got to the point where your obsession with Batman felt like I was sharing my relationship with you. Basically, Batman started taking all the attention away from me. And it got to the point where it felt like you didn't even love me anymore. Instead, you were in love with Batman. Basically says like, the man I loved was no longer there. It was just a Joker. Like Jack was no longer there anymore. Like the Joker had taken over, and she hated the Joker for destroying Jack. But he's like, you know what? Like we need to save Gotham. We need to like lead a rebellion to turn Gotham back against Batman by villainizing him and showing the damage he and Joker have caused. Kind of expose the corruption that the GCPD and politicians and stuff have used. Have I gained like all the power that they've gained through like the crime and stuff like this. We cut to Bruce, and he's at some kind of fundraiser or something. As he's there, he sees a report about he sees on the TV Jack and Harley talking about they're all on the news, and Jack is basically talking about how it was the people of Gotham that gave Jack his freedom, not the police. And that's to repay them, he's going to expose the corruption that Gotham has, and that the oppressed 99% need to fight back, kind of thing. And Bruce gets upset when another party goer kind of mentions that Jack is kind of right. I'm going to read this whole dialogue because I like it. He's right about Batman, though. I've made millions in real estate off him. And Bruce is kind of confused, like, what? And the guy goes on to explain, Batman usually fights crime in poor neighborhoods, which the city then labels Bat Impact Zones, which drops the price of real estate even more. Those zones receive grants in order to rebuild. The trick is to buy right after a zone is declared, then flip it after the taxpayers foot the repair bill. And then Bruce is pissed off. He's like, you're profiting off Batman's war on crime? And Partigo says, everyone is doing it, Bruce. Crime is the best bet in Gotham. I wonder if Bat Impact Zones are supposed to be no-go zones, which thankfully we don't really have that here in the U.S., but there's a lot of that going on in Europe. Basically, Europe is kind of screwed unless they turn things around, which I don't see them doing. Yeah, sorry about this. It's really hard to not talk about politics when reviewing this issue, because this issue is basically about politics. But I'll try to not go too much into it, just because, I don't know, I know it turns off some people. But yeah, basically Bruce gets pissed off at that, and he punches the party goer out, and then he leaves. And then we cut back to Jack and Harley, where he has gathered all the villains. For anyone who's watching, who is this little girl? It looks like she's with Croc. I have no idea who she is, but she looks like an interesting character. I want to see more about her. I like the fact that Scarface is here. I used to love Scarface from the animated series. I always thought he was kind of a cool character. I wonder if there's like a mini series or an arc where he's the main villain that's done really well. Because I think he can be like a really cool character if you take him really seriously. I know it's kind of weird. He's like a mobster puppet, but I mean, if you take into the whole like mental health issues between the puppeteer and the puppet, and all that, it could be a really cool story. But yeah, who's this little girl with the juice box? If anyone knows, please inform me down in the comments. And if there's any good arcs or issues with her, let me know, because I want to read more about her. She looks like an interesting character. So he's gathered all these criminals, and he does this thing where he puts on the Mad Hatter's hat, which has mind control. And this was actually a really ingenious idea that Joker had. Basically, there's no way he would be able to control everybody, like all the criminals. It's just there's just no way that he would have like that kind of mental power to do that. So instead, what he did was he took Clayface. He put the Mad Hatter cards in him, which allowed him to mind control Clayface. I guess he used his mind powers to dissolve Clayface basically into liquid form, and then he put a little bit into everyone's drink. So that way he ends up controlling everybody, but he's not necessarily controlling everybody individually so much as he's controlling just Clayface. But since Clayface is in everybody, he's able to control them. And I thought, you know what, that was that was a really smart idea. Like I really love that little technique that Joker did. And then the final issue is basically Harley asking if it's working, and Jack says, yeah. Here's one thing I found kind of weird, though. Okay, you see everyone with the green eyes, everyone's being mind controlled because they drank the tequila that Jack had spiked with Clayface. Why is the girl mind controlled? Was she given tequila? But it's like, no, she was drinking from a juice box. So did Jack contaminate the juice box? So yeah, I don't know. I thought that was kind of just funny. Like I'm just picturing her drinking tequila. Maybe it wasn't a juice box. Maybe it just looked like a juice box, but there was tequila inside. Who knows? But yeah, that's the end of Batman White Knight issue number 2. Really enjoyed it, except for, again, just the small minor parts. Mostly just that one panel and then the whole feminist thing. I thought that was kind of dumb. Sorry if you guys don't really care about the fact that I got a little political. It's kind of impossible not to when reading the series, since the series is very political. What do you guys think? Do you guys like the fact that I went a little bit into politics, or do you guys want me to stay out of that? In regards to other series, you guys don't have to worry. Like I won't be doing politics in anything else. I usually keep that stuff just to myself, just because I don't want my channel to be talking about that kind of stuff. If you guys don't really care for it, I'll try my very best to keep from talking politics in the for the 3rd issue. And if anything like starts getting political, I will just cut that out during editing. But yeah, but if you guys like it, then I can expand upon it more. I probably just have to deal with the fact that these videos for this series are going to get demonetized probably like immediately, because YouTube doesn't seem to like politics unless it's from mainstream media. Hope you guys enjoy this video, and I'll catch you guys all next time. Later.